Welcome to the silence before the storm, the moment when eyes blink slower, hearts beat deeper, and every whisper fades into the shadows because something is about to rise that they didn't prepare for, something forged in quiet nights, in broken places, in the corners of the world where no one claps and no one watches and no one believes until it's too late, until the roar shatters the quiet and they finally understand why they should have never looked away. You walk in and the air shifts, not because you begged for attention, not because you shouted the loudest, but because your presence carries the weight of every moment. They thought you wouldn't make it, and you did. Your presence holds every decision made when no one believed you were worth betting on, and you still chose to build. When all they did was sleep, your presence screams louder than noise without raising your voice. It demands respect without asking. It shakes the smart off their faces, not by belittling them, but by showing them that knowledge without hunger is just information waiting to expire. They watch you now with that look in their eyes like they're trying to recalculate everything they thought they knew, because the moment you started speaking, they remembered what real conviction sounds like. They remembered what it means to live with purpose, so thick it chokes out doubt and breathes in the kind of fire that doesn't flicker in the wind. It eats it, it consumes it, and grows stronger. They thought they were ahead because they had the answers. You didn't even care to ask because you weren't playing their game. You were building your own. And while they laughed and labeled and layered their lives with approval, you walked barefoot through storms building your silence into strength. And now when you speak, it ain't words. It's a warning. It's a signal that time is up for pretending and playing small and talking big without walking anything real. Because what they don't understand is that some people aren't fueled by applause. They're fueled by what was taken from them. They're fueled by the nights they spent questioning their worth, by the mornings they woke up and decided to keep going anyway. They're fueled by the shadows, the disappointments, the disrespect they turned into discipline. And when you step into a room, now, people feel that they feel that depth, that density of someone who's seen the bottom, not just visited it, but lived there and chose to rise, chose to climb without light, without rope, without cheering, crowds, only grit, only obsession, only the unshakable belief that the world doesn't owe you anything, but you owe yourself everything. And they ain't ready for that level of accountability because it strips away their excuses. It exposes the lies they tell themselves. It reminds them that comfort is a cage that some people willingly decorate and call freedom, while others choose to bleed in pursuit of something real, something raw, something that hurts and heals in the same breath. You didn't just improve, you transformed. And that kind of change is offensive to people who've stayed the same for years, who've convinced themselves that staying safe is wisdom, who've replaced dreams with routines and called it maturity. You are living proof that pain can be purpose, that struggle can be strategy, that losing everything can sometimes be the only way to gain anything worth having. You don't just speak now, you strike, and your voice doesn't rise, it lands, it hits places they've kept quiet, places they buried under fear and fake ambition. And now they look at you and realize they're not even close to that level. Not because you're perfect, not because you had more chances, but because you made a choice every day. To sharpen while they dulled, to climb while they sat to own your flaws, and use them like weapons while they hid behind polished masks. You didn't wait to be picked, you picked yourself, and now they're watching you wondering how the hell you became the one they need to study and mimic and learn from, when just a few chapters ago, they barely turned your way. And that's the thing about elevation. It's lonely, it's brutal, it's misunderstood until it's undeniable. And now you've arrived in a space where every movement you make forces people to check themselves. They start questioning their pace, their plans, their priorities, not because you said a word to them, but because your being, your aura, holds a mirror up to everything they could have been if they just didn't quit. They ain't even close to your level, because your level wasn't built by strategy alone. It was built by suffering, by showing up on days your soul begged for rest and choosing growth. Instead, it was built by dying to old versions of yourself over and over and over again until what remained couldn't be broken anymore. And that energy speaks louder than the lectures. That intensity makes people reconsider their whole direction, and they'll try to frame it like arrogance or ego. Because it's easier to dismiss your greatness than confront their own. Neglect. It's easier to mock what they fear than study it. But you don't need their validation because you ain't living for likes. You're living for legacy, for the invisible impact, for the silence that follows your words. Because it hits that deep. Because when you speak now, people don't just listen, they feel it. In their spine, in their doubt, in their hope, you awaken what they buried and what they feel. You weren't built for the surface, and that's why deep calls too deep, and those who resonate will rise with you, and those who don't will rot in comfort, still pretending that their opinion weighs more than your work. But real recognize real. And right now, every MF watching you is realizing they misjudged you. They underestimated the one thing that never blinks, never bends, never breaks, a relentless soul. And now, your existence is proof that intellect without resilience is empty, that knowledge without action is useless, that passion without pain is fantasy. They was feeling smart till you spoke and turned their theories into ashes, because what you bring is not just words, it's weight, it's war, it's truth, dressed in scars and silence. And what makes you dangerous is not your volume, but your vision. Because when you close your eyes, you still see it, you still feel it, you still want it more than they want comfort, more than they want approval, more than they want to be seen. You'd rather build in the dark than perform in the light. And that difference is what separates you from the crowd. They studied the rules, you broke them. They waited for permission, you took territory. They talked about grind, you lived it. They played humble while hiding their fear. You walked bold while battling yours. That's why you stand out now, because what you say is not rehearsed. It's remembered. It's lived. It's scarred into you. And when you speak, the room doesn't clap. The room shifts because everyone suddenly feels how far they've fallen behind. And don't mistake their silence for disinterest. They quiet because they, realizing they're not even close to that level. They're realizing that elevation ain't about hype, it's about sacrifice. And most ain't willing to pay that price. But you did, and now you own what they admire from a distance. So keep speaking, not loud, but true. Keep moving, not fast, but forward. Keep being the reminder that silence can be powerful, that hunger can be holy, and that darkness isn't always destruction. Sometimes it's the forge, sometimes it's the birthplace, sometimes it's the only place strong enough to create someone like you. They were feeling smart till you spoke, because you turned their intelligence into insecurity. You made them realize that the real test wasn't in knowing, but in becoming. And while they read about resilience, you lived it. While they studied mindset, you rebuilt yours from rubble. While they memorized motivation, you became the embodiment of it. Now they sit and watch, wondering how someone with fewer resources, fewer chances, fewer cheers got further than they did. And the answer is simple. You didn't care about being seen. You cared about being undeniable. And now every room you enter becomes proof that silence plus focus equals impact, that pain plus vision equals power. So let them keep watching. Let them keep calculating. Let them keep pretending they're close. When you know, they never even stepped into the ring, because this isn't about who's the loudest. This is about who's still standing when everything falls, and that's you. You've become the storm. You've become the standard. And every MF watching now is being reminded that they ain't even close to that level. Not yet. And maybe not ever. So now you're walking through rooms like a quiet fire, unannounced, unbothered, unafraid. and they're realizing too late that you didn't just show up. You arrived not by accident, but by discipline, by sacrifice, by choosing to keep showing up when the world gave you nothing but reasons to quit. And that's what they'll never understand, because they were busy collecting opinions while you were collecting scars. Each one earned, each one burned into your will as proof that you don't stop. You were never chasing applause. You were building something no one could take from you. Not status, not trophies, not fake validation, but substance. And now that it's showing, now that it's growing, now that every step you take carries history behind it, they're shook. Not because you speak louder, but because you speak cleaner, clearer, more pure than they ever could. They talk circles, you talk truth. They build stories, you build standards. They mimic passion, you bleed it. And the way you move now, it don't need explanation. Your presence is the proof. Your silence is the signal. Your breath is the blueprint. And when you open your mouth, they feel that drop in their gut, like gravity, just shifted, because you didn't come here to impress you, came to remind them that greatness is not random, that mastery is not gifted, that fire is not born, it's earned. They forgot that real power doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be real. It needs to be rooted in something deeper than motivation. It has to come from the parts of you that were broken, rebuilt, abandoned, and still move forward anyway, because people can copy style, but they can't copy spirit. And your spirit, it's carved from chaos, molded in isolation, crowned in silence. It's not the type they teach in books. It's the kind you earn in battle. And that's why you don't need to announce anything anymore, because your results speak louder than their opinions, and your reality stands taller than their reputation. And maybe they'll never admit it, but they feel it. They feel the distance. They feel the difference. They feel the gap, because your level isn't just a place. It's a mindset. It's a standard that doesn't bend for convenience. It doesn't flinch at failure. It doesn't need permission. You became that level when you decided that no one was coming to save you. When you looked at your life and said, this ends with me. The doubt, the fear, the excuses, the delay, the small thinking, the fake confidence, the empty praise. You shut all of it down and built from the ashes. And now that you're here, they're realizing that they were never playing the same game. You weren't trying to be liked. You were trying to be legendary. And legends don't move like followers. They move like flames. Quiet, deadly, undeniable. And what separates you from them now is not just what you've done, but what you've survived. You turned your worst days into fuel, your losses into leverage, your silence into strategy. They only show up when it's safe. You show up when it's war. They wait to be chosen. You choose yourself every single time. That's why you carry that gravity. That's why your name hits different. That's why they don't even breathe right when you walk in. Because presence, like yours, it demands reflection. It forces realization. And right now, while they watch, they're feeling that creeping discomfort, that inner voice saying, you should have worked harder. You should have kept going. You should have never laughed at their grind. Because now the one they overlooked became the one they can't ignore. The one they doubted became the one they fear. The one they dismissed now holds everything they wish they had. And the truth hurts when it's real, but it hits hardest when it's earned. You're not just a reminder of what's possible. You're the proof that time doesn't heal. Discipline does. That pain doesn't destroy. Weakness does. That life doesn't reward effort, it rewards execution. And you execute relentlessly without applause, without comfort, without delay. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you different. That's what makes them sit in silence now, wondering how far behind they really are. Because every time you speak, they remember everything they could have been, if they just did what you did, if they just kept going. And now, you've become the wake-up call, the proof that greatness isn't about talent, It's about tenacity. It's about being obsessed with the outcome, even when there's no support, no light, no noise, only faith, only grit, only you. They was feeling smart till you spoke, because you reminded them that intelligence without action is just theory and comfort. Without challenge is just a slow death of potential. And right now, while they sit watching you evolve, they feel every bit of that weight pressing against their chest. The weight of regret, the weight of what if, the weight of knowing deep down that they had the same hours, the same days, the same 24s, but they wasted theirs. And you used yours. Every minute, every scar, every chance. And now you stand as a living reminder that the game always favors the one who refuses to lose, the one who bends, but never breaks, the one who stands in the storm and becomes part of it. You didn't come to compete. You came to conquer, not by force, but by example. You didn't need to silence them. You just let your work speak. And now every word you say cuts through the noise, cuts through the ego, cuts through the lies, because you're not on their level. You're not even in their league. You built something they can't copy, something they can't fake, something they can't skip. And now, every MF watching is realizing something dangerous, something they'll never say out loud, but they'll carry it with them. Damn, I ain't even close to that level. And now, it's not just about levels, it's about worlds. You're not steps ahead, you're realms apart. Not because you had more, but because you needed less. You didn't wait for perfect conditions. You moved through storms while they needed motivation. You needed a reason. While they waited for the right time, you became the time. And now, time bends for you, because every second you move with purpose. Every breath is calculated. Every step is history in motion. They're watching now, but they're late. They see the form, but they miss the forging. They see the gold, but not the fire. They see the sharpness, but not the grind. And that's the difference. They want results without the rupture. They want glory without the grit. But you understood early. The crown isn't handed, it's taken, and it's carried alone, in silence, with blood on your back and no map to follow. They laughed at the journey, but they forgot. The one who suffers most becomes the one who commands most. And now that you're here, they can't fake being close to your level, because the air is different up here. It's thinner, it's colder, and only the prepared can breathe. You didn't just level up, you left orbit. And from this height, you don't compete. You create, you don't chase. You attract, you don't convince, you command. And the silence they hear now, that's not absence, that's domination. That's what it sounds like when someone stops explaining and starts embodying. You're not trying to prove anymore. You already are. You already did. And while they still talk in circles, still sell versions of themselves, they haven't earned. You're walking in wholeness, in truth, in scars you don't hide, because you wear them like armor. They look at you and think, something about them is different. But it's not just something, it's everything. It's how you don't flinch when things fall. It's how you walk into pressure like it's home. It's how your eyes don't look around anymore. They see through people, through lies, through limits. And what they hate most, what they'll never admit, is that now they study your moves. Now they mimic your cadence. Now they want your silence, but they don't have the stillness for it. They don't have the roots for it. Because real silence, it comes from knowing that even if everything breaks again, you'll still rebuild, and they don't want to start over. You live in the start over. That's why they're watching, and you're moving. Because when you speak now, it's not a sentence, it's a shift. It's a ripple across every person in the room who thought they were safe in their routine. It's a reminder that every excuse they've nurtured just got exposed by your breath. They was feeling smart till you spoke, because you don't speak from theory, you speak from trauma, from discipline, from evolution, from doing the work when no one saw. And now the results are loud enough to silence the entire crowd. And that silence is not approval. It's awakening. It's people finally realizing that greatness doesn't have volume. It has weight. You became heavy, too heavy for small talk, too heavy for comparison, too heavy for trends. Because when you walk now, you carry legacy. And what they don't know yet, what they'll discover when it's too late, is that you're not building for the moment. You're building for forever. And forever don't care about feelings. Forever don't care about fear. Forever don't wait for comfort. Forever moves with those willing to suffer for significance. You became that. You became the embodiment of what happens when pain meets patience, when failure meets fire, when darkness meets decision. And now you're here, not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. And that's why they're watching. That's why they're quiet. Because now they understand. This was never about being better than them. This was always about being better than you were yesterday. But in doing that, you outgrew them, outlasted them, outworked them, and now outranked them. Because they paused, but you persisted. They waited. You woke up. They followed. You forged. And now, every move you make ain't just a move. It's a message. Every word you speak ain't just a word. It's a warning. Every time you step forward, it's another reminder that they're not even close to your level, and maybe they never will be. So now we stand here, not at the end, but at a line only few ever cross. A point of no return, where ordinary breaks, where average dies, where the old world stops and your world begins, and you can feel it, that pressure in the air, that pulse in the silence, that shift. In every eye that lands on you, they thought they had time, they thought they were close, they thought effort alone would bridge the distance. But now they see this wasn't just about hard work. It was about becoming something they never could. You became the standard, you became the myth, you became the threat. Not because you took shortcuts, but because you didn't. They needed certainty. You moved with chaos. They needed the plan. You moved with presence. And now, you are the proof that no one is born ready, but some choose to become inevitable. They was feeling smart till you spoke, because you reminded them that intelligence without execution is just decoration, that confidence without consistency is just a mask, that dreams without discipline are just lies told at night. But you woke up to war. Every single day, you suited up without applause, without noise. You didn't need anyone to see it because you saw it, and that was enough. You stared down your own weakness. You broke it. You buried it. And when you rebuilt, you did it in silence. You didn't broadcast. You didn't beg for credit. You just became undeniable. And now you don't walk like them. You don't think like them. You don't breathe like them, because you've already done what most won't. You've already paid what most won't. You've already survived what most can't. And they feel that. They feel the weight in your voice, the depth in your eyes, the stillness in your movement. You don't move fast, you move right. You don't react, you respond. You don't compete, you command. You walk in and the atmosphere bends, not because you want it to, but because it has no choice. And in that moment, they realized that they weren't chasing the same thing as you. They were chasing applause. You were chasing truth. They were chasing comfort. You were chasing greatness. And now that it's here, they can't fake being close. They can't pretend anymore. Because now, the room is split. Two kinds of people. Those who talked about it, and the one who became it. And you became it. So let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them scramble to figure it out. You don't need to explain. You don't need to defend. Because when you are the standard, you don't chase recognition. You carry responsibility. And that's the final separation. That's the edge they'll never touch. Because you didn't just want to win. You wanted to leave something behind. You didn't just want to rise. You wanted to raise the entire floor. You didn't just want to be known. You wanted to be remembered. And now, you don't have to yell it. You don't have to sell it. You just live it. You just move. And every MF watching you now knows this ain't luck. This ain't hype. This ain't a phase. This ain't even talent. This is something else. This is earned power, learned pain, relentless consistency, quiet obsession, purpose with no pause. And now you own it. All of it, the distance, the difference, the dominance. Because while they hesitated, you became history, and the only words left for them now, the only truth they can't escape is this: damn, I ain't even close to that level.